Afternoon, everyone. Before we hand it over to the chairwoman to start our meeting, I just wanted to recognize three new staffers, three A-team new staffers who have joined us, and I wanted to make sure the board knows who they are. First is Mireya Espinosa. She's our new Director of Communications. She's hit the ground running. Where's Mireya? Our, joins us as a former executive at USAA doing global media, just a complete all-star. She's hit the ground running, and we're really grateful for her to be on our team. As well as Marisa Smithwick. She's our new Senior Director of Public Housing, who joins us from the Corpus Christi Housing Authority and has been as an all-star as well, and she's hit the ground running. We're really excited for her joining the team. And then finally, Jared. Help me with your last name, Jared? Derek. Our Senior Director. Our Senior Director of Development Services and Neighborhood Revitalization, who joins us from the Lynn Company. Again, another all-star who's hitting the ground running and is really making amazing contributions to DSNR. So we're really excited about our new three colleagues, and I want to ensure that the board can connect the name to the face. So thank you all.
All right, hello and welcome to Opportunity Homes San Antonio's regular board meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 6th, 2026. Please note this meeting will be recorded in its entirety. I will now conduct roll call. Chair Estrellita Garcia Diaz.
Here.
Vice Chair Leela Powell.
Here.
Barbara Unkama Burford.
Here.
Janet Garcia.
Here.
Tanika Nikki Johnson. Kayla Miranda.
Here.
Doug Ponick, Board of Commissioners Attorney.
I'm here.
President and CEO Michael Reyes.
Here.
Additionally, we have a Spanish interpreter located at the back of the room should you need their assistance.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Rosario Yáñez. Yo estaré proporcionando la interpretación por si alguien lo requiere. Aquí estaré disponible.
The time is 1:12 p.m. You may call the meeting to order.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I will call the meeting to order. The Board of Commissioners or its committee may hold a closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071-076 for consultation concerning attorney-client matters, real estate, litigation, personnel, and security matters. The Board of Committee reserves the right to enter into closed meeting at any time during the course of the meeting. It is now 1:13 p.m. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
We have 4 citizens signed up to speak.
Thank you.
Now is the time for citizens to be heard. Citizens will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Each citizen will be permitted to speak only once. The board asks the public to address concerns related to Opportunity Home matters and policy and not include statements that may be considered defamatory of any individual. The board encourages members of the public to direct specific concerns or problems to Opportunity Home staff for more prompt resolution. The board will not discuss the comments of speakers or respond to speakers during the citizen be heard portion of the agenda. Our first speaker is Mary Konechny. Mary Konechny. Our next speaker is Richard Cantu. Richard Cantu.
He's in the entrance.
Madam Chair, my name is Richard Cantu. I'm here today because I spent the last year fighting for something simple, my home. The same thing every one of you would fight for if someone disrespected your home the way mine was being disrespected. What I struggle to understand is how an agency can allow a technician to enter my home year after year, pretending to treat an infestation that never improves. He walks into my living space, looks into me in my eyes, sprays something that has no effect, and leaves as if the job is done. This treatment was so ineffective that when I tested the residue left behind, it tasted like water. And it didn't kill a single roach. Imagine someone coming into your home, spraying something that does nothing, and then denying what is clearly shown on video. That is the most horrible thing a person can do to another man's home, to show no respect for decency, no respect for the people who live there. Residents who have lived in this system their entire lives, elderly men, disabled men, have told me that this is just how it's always been. They say others before me tried to speak up about roaches, false fire alarms, and policies that are only enforced when they are used against residents. They say nothing ever changes. That is normal. But I didn't grow up in deep poverty housing. I didn't grow up believing that this level of neglect is acceptable. And I am still shocked that in 2026, in a city like San Antonio, this kind of behavior exists. This is not just a Blanco Apartments issue. This is not an isolated issue. It's affecting vulnerable residents across the entire city, and it involves taxpayers' money, public resources, and the dignity of people who deserve better. I have fought to protect my home, but I have also been fighting for your homes, because now you know this behavior exists. Now you know what's happening under your authority. And I don't believe any of you would tolerate this happening to your family, to your parents, or your community. So I ask you to picture this happening in your home. Picture somebody entering into your house, pretending to fix a problem they never fix, year after year. Picture your elderly neighbors waking up to false fire alarms at 2 in the morning. Picture your walls crawling with roaches after years of paid treatments. And then ask yourself, would you accept this? I'm not here to attack anybody. I'm here because I believe every resident deserves the same basic dignity you expect in your own home. And I'm asking you to take action so that what has happened to me and what has happened to generations before me does not continue for the next generation after. And in conclusion, I need to address a final concern. It is deeply troubling that the agency chief of legal officers preparing to go to court to argue against Opportunity Homes' own certified accounting records. That is a waste of taxpayers' money and court resources. The entire issue could be resolved in minutes if someone simply acknowledged what the agency's own documents already show. I hope this board chooses common sense and resolves this matter before July 8th. Thank you.
Our next citizen is Joe Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I am a resident here at Cherry West Apartments. I want to start with the simple truth. Some of us in this community are adjusting our lives around fear right here where we live, and that should never be normal. Anywhere we call home. Security in our community has not disappeared, but it has been set back, and residents feel that difference every day. What once provided reassurance is no longer as present or effective. At the same time, there are discussions about restricting personal security cameras. These are not about invading privacy. There are tools residents use to protect themselves and document incidents. And this is where it becomes difficult to understand. While residents are being asked to give up these tools, security is still present around offices and meetings. There appears to be more protection in administrative areas than where residents actually live. That raises a serious concern. Are we all being protected equally? Another major concern is transparency. I attempted to obtain crime statistics and was referred to a security analyst, but when I asked for more information, he stepped back. Since then, I've spoken with the administration, including as recently as April 30th, and continue to hear the same explanations and reassurances. But Repeated explanations without action stop being communication and start becoming excuses. In many cases, the only resolution offered is to transfer somewhere else. But that does not solve the problem here. It simply moves them. What residents are asking for is not relocation, but transparency, accountability, and solutions where we live. There are also ongoing concerns about inconsistent enforcement, situations involving overcrowding, repeated situations, disturbances, and unauthorized occupants continue without visible accountability. When rules exist but are not applied, consistency it sends the message that standards are optional. Many residents don't speak up because they are living in it or have become used to it. And when people become used to dysfunction, that is when a community begins to decline. At the same time, residents who are trying to live peacefully are the ones most affected. Beyond that, residents are dealing with noise, cleanliness issues, and deteriorating property conditions. Even driving through the parking areas raises concerns about vehicle damage due to uneven and deteriorating surfaces. These are everyday issues that continue to be acknowledged but not fully resolved. What happens to a community when problems are seen, reported, and still not addressed? Problems cannot be solved from behind a desk. Leadership requires presence, especially here.
Mr. Gonzalez, your time has lapsed. Are you almost done?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, you can finish up.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
At the end of the day, residents are not asking for anything unreasonable. We are asking for transparency, accountability, and real commitment to safety right here where we live, because housing is not just about providing a place to stay. It's about providing a safe and dignified place to live. Safety is not optional, and dignity is not negotiable. When concerns are repeated and nothing changes, the issue is no longer communication, it's accountability. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
Our next
I'd
citizen.
like to make a comment before our speaker leaves. We did receive some crime statistics, and it does look like there's an uptick in property crime that was reported to us as the commissioners. So thank you for bringing this issue to our attention. I'm sorry if that wasn't okay for me to say, but it is the data that we received, so thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Our next citizen is Juanita Gutierrez. Juanita Gutierrez. That concludes our citizens to be heard.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call for approval of the April 1st, 2026 regular board meeting minutes and approval of the April 13th, 2026 special board meeting minutes. Is there any discussion regarding either of these items? Not hearing that there is any discussion, I request a motion to approve the April 1st, 2026 regular board and April 13th, 2026 special board meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It is moved and seconded. The motion, can I have a yay or nay?
Yay.
Sorry.
I did my training. I just want you to know. I
did
got
mine
online.
too.
I watched all those videos.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Having the motion passed, minutes are approved and adopted. I will move on to the public hearing regarding Resolution 6933.
Citizens signed up for this public hearing, which was required because we are issuing bonds on project.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, we will now proceed to individual items. Item number 5, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6933, authorizing approval as general partner and bond issuer on the Brickstone Flats transaction. Savannah Campos, Project
Hi.
Manager 2.
I'm Savannah Campos again. In the crowd, we do have Carly, who is Kittle Property Group. So this is a senior elderly development, just want to throw that out there. It has gone to the board several times before to get bond inducement, to get the okay to move forward with MOU negotiations. Today, we're requesting their approval to move forward and finalize closing in connection with the 4%, and the closing is predicted to be June 18th of this year. As you can see, Brickstone is located southwest San Antonio off I-35 and Somerset. There is a Central Med, Palo Alto, lots of different resources, senior centers, grocery stores, things of that nature. And it is near a VIA stop. Again, it's new construction, senior elderly, which is 55 plus. And it's located in City Council District 4, South San Antonio ISD. And it's proposed to have 290 units, with 29 of those being at 30% or less AMI, and 261 being at 60%, and a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom, because again, it is elderly. Here you can see a breakdown of the cost. The overall project cost is about $68.4 million. And any proceeds from this project will go to help support very low-income residents by preserving, expanding, and sustaining affordable housing and resident services, including funding budget gaps in affordable housing projects and developing new and affordable units serving 50% AMI or less, which y'all have all seen before. Any questions?
I just have one question, if you could answer this to the best of your ability. But have there been any changes to the terms or the project itself from inducement to this point at the final stages?
No.
Thank you.
I have one additional question. If you could remind me what our accessibility requirements are for, I know this is a multi-story project which doesn't
Yes.
require elevators, but what percentage of the units would be accessible? And then are we using universal design in other units?
So we do have elevators in each building. There's 4 buildings. There's the typical 2% that are hearing visual and 5% that are ADA accessible, which is TDHCA rules. However, any of the units can be easily converted into ADA units. As far as universal design, that's a little bit more of a complicated answer. Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, you answered it correctly in that it's 5% the ADA and the 2% hearing and visual, and then any unit can and will be modified at the reasonable request from our resident.
With lever door handles and things like that? Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do you know, like, how fast it takes, like, if a resident were, say we were need more ADA units, like, how fast would it be for it to be converted? Like, do we have, like, an estimate time?
I don't know.
Turnaround.
I can find that out, but I know it's very, very quickly.
Okay.
I mean, it's something that they can do very quickly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, everybody. I am going to go ahead and call for a motion to approve Resolution 6933. I request a motion.
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a first and second. Any additional conversation or questions? Okay, there being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes and the resolution is adopted. Thank you. Item number, oh, you're, okay.
It's me again.
Item number 6, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6934, authorizing the transfer of the investor limited partner interest related to the Emberstone Apartments transaction. And Savannah Campos is with us again for this one.
So this one is also Kittlebury, so Carly may be able to answer some questions, even if it's not her particular expertise. So this project is kind of an outlier. It's gone to the board 3 times previously. So it has been approved for financial closing on October 1st of 2025, and then November 12th, it actually closed. So this project is in construction. Today, we're seeking approval for Kittle Property to be able to switch out the limited investor because at the time of closing, that investor was not prepared to take on this project. And so Kittle used an internal source to cover until the external source can come in. And this allowed them to meet their 180-day bond reservation, because if they did not meet that closing date, then they would have had to return the bonds and the project wouldn't be feasible. So Emberstone is north of, it is at 14970 Watson Road. And it's located just 7 miles of where Brickstone is. So a lot of the same amenities, but this one is a multifamily, like just family, not elderly. It's new construction located in City Council District 4, Southwest ISD. It is 25 units that will be at 30% and 222 at 60%, which is 247 units with a mix of the 1 to 4 bedroom units because it's family. Any questions?
Do we have any questions? I have just one, and just to understand the temporary investors, does that have
Yes.
any impact, or is there any
No.
oversight with regard to that? Does it even merit questioning?
No, in fact, all the same terms stay in place.
Okay.
We're just switching out the entities, and Kittle used an internal entity, so now we're gonna replace it. We'll have to go through and re-sign documents, but there's no effect on the overall financial.
Or the project itself? Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? Okay, thank you. I will go ahead and call for a motion to approve Resolution 6934. I request a motion. Do I have one?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. Is there any additional discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes and the resolutions are adopted. We will move on to item number 7, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6932, authorizing the President and CEO's authority to award HUD housing-related hazards grants and safety security grant-related contracts in excess of $250,000. George Ayala, Director of Procurement, welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So Resolution 6932 requests approval to delegate the authority to the President and CEO to award contracts for the HUD housing-related hazards grants and safety and security grants when the cost exceeds the current $250,000 approval threshold that is designated to him. This delegation is necessary to facilitate emergency action and the timely execution of contracts and purchase required for the renovation of various communities under these grant programs. This action is supported by Texas Local Government Code Section 392. To ensure continuing oversight, all contract awarded and expenditure details will be brought to the next regularly scheduled board meeting for full ratification. The recommendation is to approve the resolution to streamline the procurement process for these federally funded programs. At this time, if you all have any questions, I'd be more than glad to answer.
Any questions?
I do have a question just to clarify. So this is to make the process more efficient, and I know we have a typical threshold for approval by the executive, and this is higher than that. Is there any special reason? Is it like a timeline with responding to the grant?
Yes, ma'am. So whenever we apply for a grant, there is actually a timeline that is given to us. This timeline usually has several different milestones that we have to abide by. In this case, we do have an obligation deadline. For example, we have a couple of projects that we have an obligation deadline for September of this year. Because of the change in board meetings, that is kind of delayed, so it's going to put us close to that deadline. Most of these projects have already either been competitively procured through the normal procurement process, either an IFP, an RFP, or done within the contracts that have already been pre-approved by the board. So that's kind of like allowing us to help. And some of the delays in these different projects have been because of the fact that we needed additional testing done, like lead abatement, asbestos, and that delays because we are also, as part of the project, we have to do this kind of testing, and this testing that is delayed depending on the ability of our contracted vendors to fulfill this testing in our behalf.
And then the items will be brought back to the commissioners for ratification at the next available meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez.
I just wanted to be clear to the board, so when we refer to HUD HRH, you've probably heard those letters before. It's referring to HUD, housing-related hazards, which can include, we've been using those grant applications to retrofit fire protection in some of our properties and for lead-based paint abatement. And so that covers that under that grant. And these take a little bit longer because they're for very specific scopes of work. Fire protection retrofitting in public housing is extremely complicated. We have to investigate undergrounds, new fire lines to provide water service for the fire protection sprinklers. And so it's not that you can take, like the capital fund grant, you could apply it to a lot of different needs at a property. These are very specific, and so they tend to be pretty complicated. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any additional discussion or questions? No? Okay, thank you. I will now call for a motion to approve Resolution 6932. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
It is moved and seconded. Is there any additional discussion one last time? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes and the resolution is adopted. Okay, we will now move on to discussion items. Number 8, update and discussion regarding the quarterly financial report. We have Aaron Sladek, Senior Director of Finance and Accounting.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'll be walking through the quarterly financial report for Opportunity Home. We're going to be covering the 9 months ended March 31st, 2026. As a reminder, we segment this report into two groups. We show an operations segment. This covers our core activities like housing, property management, and resident services. And then we have our capital segment, which includes real estate and our capital funds. So I'm going to go ahead and begin with our operations segment here. And we can see a total column for operations. And for the 9-month period, operations reported a surplus before non-cash items of $38.6 million. That was $37.4 million above budget. And this strong performance was largely supported by MTW funding. It was allocated across several key initiatives, including public housing, operations, and capital investments, the Amara and Artisan at Creekside acquisitions, as well as funding for community development initiatives. So I do have a slide for that towards the end of the presentation that'll show those amounts. But go ahead and looking at just at pure operating revenue, we can see that that came in $5 million below budget with mixed performance across categories. Tenant revenue was essentially flat there, unfavorable about $32,000. But within that, I did want to bring attention to the Affordable Housing Communities, or AHC, portfolio, because there is some variation within that. And for the seasoned commissioners, that's probably atypical, because I don't think I've ever seen that segment over budget. And then when you look into the occupancy numbers, it makes a little bit less sense on paper, because they were budgeted at 89.2%, a weighted average across that portfolio, but they came in at 83.4%. So that took a little bit more digging, right, scrubbing of the numbers to see what's going on there. And what was found out was that that was primarily driven by acquisition timing and then assets remaining in the portfolio longer than expected. So the upside was led by the Amara acquisition. We brought them on in September 2025. That's a 308-unit property, so it's a big revenue generator for us, and of course, it was not included in the budget at the time because it was unplanned. And then there was also continued contributions to revenue from Highland Park and Costa Valencia, because those are still in our portfolio while we're waiting for those assets to finish their sale. And then also kind of some counterplay against that, we had a Homestead where we ended up accelerating the vacancy, and we fully vacated the property by the end of June to prepare for site demolition. And then we also had a property that we did not end up acquiring, but was budgeted starting as of July 2025. That was the Mission Creek Apartments. And then what happened is it ended up getting substituted for a different acquisition. It was the Artisan at Creekside Apartments, but that was not until December of 2025. So a little bit of a lag in the revenue there. So all those pieces kind of interplaying led to AHC showing over budget in the tenant revenue. Moving to grant revenue, that exceeded budget by about $3 million. That was driven primarily by higher Section 8 admin fees and favorable HUD adjustments. We also saw positive performance in project-based Section 8 revenue and a slight increase in public housing operating subsidy. Section 8 HAP revenue was $8 million below budget. This was due to lower voucher utilization, but keep in mind that shortfall, you'll see a corresponding $8 million reduction in HAP expenses. And then moving to operating expenses, we were $13.2 million below budget in operations. Salaries and benefits came in $3.6 million under budget due to effective staffing and position vacancies. And other expenses were $2.5 million below budget, reflecting savings in areas like technology, consulting, and administrative costs. There was one main cost pressure here in utilities. This exceeded budget by $1 million, largely due to higher water and sewer costs. So try to mitigate that. Staff is actively monitoring usage, working on mitigation measures, including identifying leaks in advance as soon as they occur, and then also reviewing consumption patterns at the various properties. And then kind of shifting gears here to the capital segment. For the same 9-month period, capital reported a surplus before non-cash items of $7.5 million. This was $2.2 million above budget. So revenue performance was strong, coming in $4.2 million above budget. This was driven by higher grant revenue due to timing differences, along with increased miscellaneous revenue from developer fees, a multi-year payment in lieu of taxes catch-up, and stronger partnership distributions. So I think, Commissioner Powell, you had asked, is a development fee, like, we've got some Kittle properties in active development, River Breeze, Emberstone, like, is there gonna be some kind of catch-up? So yes, we're seeing some catch-up now in the third quarter of the fiscal year. And then on the expense side, kind of the same story. We did see favorable overall, coming in $0.4 million below budget. Salaries and benefits were under budget, while consulting costs were a little bit higher than expected. And then also one item to note here is the other income and expenses line item. This showed a $2 million unfavorable variance. This was due to unplanned legal settlements and demolition costs at Homestead. And then turning briefly to the balance sheet, a lot of activity year over year here. Total assets and deferred outflows of resources increased by $77.3 million, or about 12%, driven by growth in both current and fixed assets, including assets held for sale, new acquisitions and capital improvements. Total liabilities and deferred inflows increased by $92.8 million, or about 41%. And this was primarily due to new debt issuances tied to major development acquisition projects. The largest of those, the Central at Commerce, we issued $64 million in bonds. And then as a result, net position decreased $15.5 million, or about 4%. Moving over to some financial charts and ratios. So year over year, comparing March 26 to 25, there's a 9.3% increase in total operating revenue. This is driven by strong results across all categories. And for total operating expenses, we saw a 3.9% year-over-year increase, mainly due to an increase in HAP expense. Our debt-to-equity ratio rose from 0.38 to 0.65, which that's a significant increase. It's still a strong overall ratio, reflecting the organization's solvency. And again, it's driven primarily by Central Commerce at $64 million bond issuance. And that was strategically used to support that project's development and also generate revenue through our S&P rated construction, our new financing structure. So I expect that ratio to remain elevated because as we do construction financing, these bonds are huge, right? You know, low end 30 million, high end, you know, the highest I've seen so far is the Commerce 64 million, but I expect that we may see even bigger ones going forward. And our current ratio rose from 1.87 to 2.21, indicating stronger short-term liquidity. Here's the summary that I alluded to in the beginning, showing our uses of HUD-held funds. So you can see we supported public housing operations with 4.1 million in HUD-held funds. We did ask the board last budget cycle for 7.2 million, so we're still trending a little bit under on that end. We used 27.4 million to help acquire the Amara apartments, about 1.6 million for Artisan at Creekside Apartments acquisition. And then we're kind of right in line with the board ask. If you annualize the 1.7 million for CDI, that's right around the board ask. And then a small amount there used to match for the housing bond rehab at Mid-Crown. You also have in your packets a cash and investment summary and a grants report. I do want to briefly highlight the quarterly cash and investment summary. That report outlines changes in cash balances from December 31st to March 31st. This report is required by the Texas Public Funds Investment Act. And during the quarter, there was a decrease of 10.1 million in cash investments. And this was primarily driven by the payoff of the Rosemont Highland Park bonds. So we had hoped to sell that property late last year. We're still in the midst of trying to get the buyer to secure their financing. Senior leadership has recently walked the properties, Highland Park, and I believe Costa Valencia as well, and they're trying to still close those by the end of the fiscal year. So, sorry if I blitz through that. I feel like I'm getting a little feverish, or this is hot in here, but are there any questions?
Any questions?
I do have a couple of questions. Can you talk about the debt on Amara?
The debt on Amara.
Do we have debt on Amara?
We issued bonds, right? So
Outside of the bond issuance, do we have debt on the property? Did we take out any other loans on the property? No, we just have bonds. Okay. And then with regard to the debt to equity ratio, does that impact, is there a level at which that would impact our bond rating?
that's a great question. We could certainly talk to, we partner with now why am I drawing a blank on? Yes, KeyBank, sorry, thank you. Everyone knows what me, I guess. KeyBank, yeah, I can make a phone call, and that's a really good question, and certainly see if that does play into it. I mean, it is one of those ratios that's, universal. The most common ones would be current ratio, debt to equity, and then for individual properties, certainly the debt service coverage ratio. But yeah, it's a fantastic question. I think when we get rated, certainly they are looking at our level of debt, so it would come into play somehow, whether it's specifically like, hey, look, what's wrong with your debt to equity ratio, or they say it another way, but certainly they are looking at the level of debt.
I'm just going to add one thing.
Yep.
And Diana, can you introduce yourself for the
Oh, sorry. I'm Diana Fiedler, Executive Vice President and CFO. The change over the quarter was a result of actually issuing debt through that rating. So I imagine that when Aaron provides them with additional updates, we have to update our information annually, plus every time we issue bonds, I assume that they're going to take that piece out because, right, that we're going to collect it as much as we owe it.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that impact to our rating would be negligible.
That's
Right.
very helpful. Thank you.
Yes. If we take on the debt, like at Armada, right?
Yes.
Then, right, that's on us just to keep that debt to equity ratio more solid. But I think with Armada, because we did invest $28 million for the MTW funds, that actually helped our debt to equity ratio because the property's worth the 56 million.
That's very helpful.
Right.
I actually have two more questions, which you may not be able to answer at all. The 83.4% occupancy, is that an actual occupancy rate or an economic occupancy rate?
That is physical occupancy, and
Physical
I
occupancy.
think I have the economics somewhere, but not
So
with
it's
me right now.
a little lower,
I think the economic occupancy is actually higher.
higher.
Mhm.
Okay, so
It's still in the
Uh,
80s, but yeah.
other quick, and that just seems consistent. I know the overall, San Antonio's weakest apartment market in the country right now, but looking at some of these numbers, are we working on more voucher utilization supports like landlord programming? Are we working on more programming for landlords so that we can get a higher voucher utilization rate?
Jose Mascoro, Chief Operating Officer, Opportunity Home. I know we're partnering with the city to work with their program for housing in the near future so that we can incorporate that. We've also, I believe, contemplated some additional incentive dollars for landlords and new landlords in our programs. So those are some programs that we're getting ready to launch again.
Thank you. That's it.
Do you have a question? No? Any additional questions? No? Okay, thank you, Aaron.
Thanks so much.
We'll move on to item number 9, call center as a service, Laura Longoria, Client Service Manager.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm not Laura Longoria. I'm Joanna Alvarado, the Senior Director of Technology, Innovative Technology. All right, so I'm going to do the first couple of slides, and Laura's going to come up and support what I just said with data and real facts of what's happening with customer service. I just want to point out that Laura has been with us almost 20 years, and I just want to give her a shout out because she does some amazing work for our customers in HPS and our lobby. This was really in a major partnership, of course, with her group, with her customer service group. This is the implementation of our call center as a service. We used to have what's called unified communications as a service. What does all that mean? It means that we put in a true call center, right, to be able to work the phones the way you would a call center. We were getting that much volume where we really needed to leverage the technology to improve the way that we serviced all those calls coming in. So we did the project over a year. The first slide you see is our roadmap that we implemented both Phase 1 and Phase 2. So we're happy to come to you with the completion of Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1, as you can see, was a core build, right, where we bought 28 seats to support the customer service department. We did the contact center core build. Again, we had to change our entire phone system to enhance and implement a call center and all of the technology that comes with that. Part of that was a callback queue, which means that now our residents can request for a callback, and Laura's staff will go out and do those callbacks in a very timely manner. And then we did monitored voicemails, where now Laura's team can do training and coaching and can monitor the voicemails that are coming in. But more importantly, the voicemails are now being handled just like a regular call. So they're going into the queue, which means that they have to be addressed before the next call can come in. So they're no longer going to a voicemail box, which is what we had before. And they were very difficult for Laura's staff to go back in and return all those voicemails. So now all voicemails are being addressed because they're part of the queue management. Then we introduced skill management, which means that now we can apply skills to certain operators that can handle the calls coming in. For example, we'll have a skill under wait list. It will go to a wait list operator that can handle that. We have a separate phone number for inspectors, and now the inspection team can answer those inspection calls, and so on. Before that, the calls are just coming in. All 5,000, 10,000 were coming in, and they were being overloaded, and the operators were trying the best they could to distribute them and to get those phone calls. Now, we're able to distribute them with this system and be able to answer those calls that are specific to those coming in. And then we did disposition collection, which means that we want to know what kind of calls we're getting so that we can address staff, we can address training, and we can make sure that we're have the skill set so we can handle the calls coming in. So we have dispositions where we can, we used to track them manually, literally. Laura's team would have a form, paper form, and they would go and put in every single call. This person was for recertification, interim, wanted to provide their income. They would write down every single call, and then they would evaluate that data the best they could. Now we can assign dispositions that are just a click away, and they can go and assign the call immediately, and then we can get data on that and reporting that helps us to make better data-driven decisions. Laura will show you some of that data in a moment. And then the live monitoring and reporting. We have, of course, with this new system, live monitoring, which means live. That means that you can display it on a TV, you can put it on Laura's computer and the management, and they can look at what's happening with the phone calls live, how many are coming in, how many are not, if we're being overwhelmed, then she can manage it, and then she can put more people on the phones and handle them accordingly because she's getting that data in front of her live. And then in phase 2, we went into incorporating the after-service customer survey. We're very excited about that. It is the first one that we've ever had at Opportunity Home. Again, we'll show you some data on that. We're very pleased with the results of it. And we're able to ask our callers if they want to answer 3 simple questions to help us drive the best customer service that we can. And then we just introduced on our website the live interactive chat and the live SMS messages. There's a phone number under the contact page on our website that you can go to, and you can text to it, right? And you will receive a live operator message back pretty timely. Laura has dedicated staff that is managing the live chat and the SMS, and the live interactive chat is exactly that. They go in, they fill out a form so we can prevent spammers, and then it'll go into the queue for the chat operator, and the chat is then responded to. Again, interactive, back and forth, another way for our residents to reach us. The whole point of this technology was to diversify, right? Other than phone calls coming in, just coming through the phone, we're able to now use these different channels of communication so that our residents can continue to reach us. The challenges we faced before implementation, for those of you, the new commissioners that are here, we put this in here so you would understand a lot of how we leverage the technology to improve those and to help us meet those challenges. Of course, we had challenges with customer service and the experience, right? We had huge attrition and CSR turnover. With the system, the training is easier to implement than maybe it was before. And we also, a lot was happening during the pandemic, so we had a lot of attrition with CSRs. But I was just talking to Laura, and she was saying that she's had people that have been with us 2 and 3 years now. So that's very, very, very exciting. Call volumes increased to an overwhelming level. As we all know, we have a lot of phone calls that come through. There was no automatic tracking mechanism of support provided, no feedback management, as I just told you. We did not have a survey or anything like that to see how we were doing with customer service. There was no callback option or voicemail automation. As I just described, we're able to do both now, and no digital engagement options, which means we didn't have texting, we didn't have live chat. So we're very excited with the current improvements listed on the slide that we're able to meet a lot of those challenges. So now I'm going to call up Laura, and she's going to go through the rest of the presentation and kind of dig more into the data to demonstrate how this technology has improved our customer service. Laura?
Good afternoon, everyone. Really excited about this new upgrade. We transitioned this past year, 2025, to where we are at now, so it is very new and very fresh information. But I'm happy to say that prior to the upgrade, that we did have some system bottlenecks. We had some issues with conducting manual processes and spreadsheet tracking of all incoming calls, which was very time-consuming. Our customer satisfaction score was at 64% prior to the upgrade. Now, the problems that we experienced were high friction, of course, fragmented tools and inconsistent customers' journeys, which caused frustration for our program participants. You know, they were frustrated trying to get through that whole process and that journey and the phone calls, and staff didn't know which calls were coming in, why they were coming in, and so it was pretty frustrating for them too. Caused a lot of frustration on their end and also high-level stress and so forth. Now with the smart CCAS improvements, have resulted in an average handle time of 12.5 minutes prior to 8.2 minutes. So it's a decrease in over 4 minutes handle time. Our first call resolution was at 58% previous, and then now we have increased that to 84%. So we can handle calls the first time around a whole lot better than we did before with this new system. Our abandonment rate was 14%, and we've been able to reduce that to 3%. So people that are calling in, can get in, they can get through, they can understand the system and the whole journey. So that's exciting to see. Our customer satisfaction score has increased to 91%, where it was previously at 64%, so we're happy about that. Our key takeaways are we have moved to a smart CCAS centralized data system. We can automate our workflows, and we also can now unlock insights for a better customer service experience. It allows for more time for me and my supervisors to conduct training and allow our team to better serve our residents. Next slide. There's a side-by-side comparison before and after. So this is from January of this year through April of this year, and we wanted to show where the service calls that we did previously were 2,500 each month. That started back in 2022. So when we go back to now with the new upgrade, we're servicing 8,655 calls now. And that's handling inbound, outbound. That's also responding to voicemails. And that does not include our response to text messages or our response to live chats. So that's a huge increase. Staff is now servicing over 6,000 calls each month, more than we did before. I want to also mention that our lobby staff is now situated to help our phone staff from where they're at situated without having to go into the call center where all the equipment used to be. Now they're set up to where we have licensing and things like that, where they can stay where they're at the workstation in the lobby. Whenever the traffic slows down, they can help the call center. So that attributes to why we're handling so many calls now, which is great. And of course, we don't take away from assisting our in-person clients that are in the lobby. It's just whenever we have some downtime, which is not much, but when we do, we want them to be productive. In voicemails, we're manually tracked. In some instances, they were not answered at all because of the number that we were getting. We couldn't track them very well before. The update to our phone system now groups all voicemails, requests for callbacks, and incoming calls to be answered in the order received. So our staff members will put on their headset, and when they're taking incoming calls, they may get a call that is going back to the participant who left a voicemail, because that's the next person that's in line to receive a call back. We launched on December the 1st, adding our SMS and text feature and live chat communication options, serving 830 more clients and increasing our interactions daily to 9,485 each month. And when we look at the previous amounts, it was 2,500, so that's just, a wonderful improvement. So our proactive shift moved from reactive handling to active outbound callback engagement. Previously, we knew lots of calls were coming in, and now we know the types of calls that are coming in and how to handle them. Next slide. So I'm really happy about this new feature too, where supervisor monitoring, we can now see case statuses, the reason for calls coming in. We can assign specific skills or cues to CSRs to improve service. For example, waitlist, if we have people coming in, which are the highest number of reason for people calling in is because they want to know the status of their waitlist. They want to know where their application falls and so forth. So we can assign maybe our new staff members that are training to that queue and to handle those calls. And then we can also take over calls and or SMSs as needed. We can listen in for calls, coaching and training our staff as they're on the call. We can review full conversations regarding chats and live chats and text messages. We can see what's coming in and why they're calling in. We can escalate issues where needed, and then also dispositions or call reasons for the inquiry or caller listed for us to know why those calls are coming in. So we can collaborate more with other program departments, so we can determine how we can resolve those reasons for those calls to come in every day and so forth. If we have an issue with maybe people wanting to understand why their rent is a certain amount, well, then we can kind of implement some things with the other programs to reduce those costs. see customer contact information, and then also generate detailed reports and look at a real-time dashboard. Whereas before, we weren't sure what was going on. Now we have that luxury to see everything that's coming in all at once. So we go to the next screen. This is a view of our call center live reporting dashboard, which is great. This is what we're able to see. We're able to see who's on calls, who's not taking calls, why they're no longer on the call system. We can see if there's more calls coming in for inspection reasons, or are they calling in because they want to help applying? If they're calling in just on our regular queue, if we need more Spanish speakers to jump on the line to help people that are calling in that need a Spanish speaker. So this is really helpful. It allows us to see many different staff members, where they're assigned and so forth. We can see live activity on each queue. We have the ability to assign staff to queues that have more calls handling, of course, are coming in. And then also allows management to be more proactive and manage the call center more effectively. If we see calls waiting and someone should be on the line and maybe they're taking a long time with a particular client, we can jump in and help them. We can do a soft monitoring and actually take over the call, things like that. So this helps us look at all our activity on the call center. A whole lot different than we had before, so this is really, really great. Next slide. So the after-service survey results here. Although phone system upgrade and survey feature is very new to us, we are real excited about the recent survey results, which is the first time we've ever been able to give the opportunity for program participants to rate our service. So between January 1st and April 8th, the questions that we have out there, 98% of callers who took the survey got their issue resolved, is what they told us, 98%. 2% who took the survey did not have their issue resolved. 100% of callers who took the survey were happy with the representative's ability to assist, and then 0% who took the survey were not happy with the ability of the representative to assist. So we're really happy with that result, and I can happily say that I didn't run this report, IT did, so it's an accurate report, so I'm glad about that. So our staff is really doing well, and like Joanna had mentioned, we didn't have staff stick around very long because of all the craziness and calls, not knowing what to expect when they got a call. And it was just a lot for the residents as well, of course. So I'm happy to say that we've had some members that have been with us for up to 3 years now, and people that we have lost recently that were due to promotions, which is a good thing. On the next slide, we have the call center operations and performance overview, which gives an idea of the type of skill or cues, I should say, on the left side, where we have our CSRs who are signed into the English queue. That's all calls that are coming in, just regular calls. We have, our system journey does allow for clients to call in. If they're calling about the wait list specifically, they can select that queue, so they'll get a member of staff to help them to determine where they're at on the wait list. If they're calling specifically about their inspection status, they can select that queue and they'll get a staff member to help them, and so on and so forth. The CSR 1, when you see OB, that's outbound call. Those are the calls that we're making outbound. If someone calls in and says they want a return call, they don't want to wait on hold because it's going to take a while for us to get to them, they can actually select that option and we will call them back. They can leave the option for voicemails as well. This helps us determine the type of calls that are coming in. We can collaborate with the program departments, reduce the calls, and determine how to better communicate with our program participants and applicants, going forward. On the right here, we have the top dispositions that we have captured for a monthly average. Number 1 is going to be the main line, which is a outbound call, no answer. And I think a lot of that is because our system is now new and sophisticated, where clients don't realize we're going to call them back, even though they requested the call back. And when we do call them back, they're not answering because they're not expecting us to call. And again, this is a new system, so I think everybody's starting to learn, that this is an option and we are going to call back, whereas before maybe they didn't get that experience, right? So we're missing a lot of opportunities there. We have found that when we do call people back and they do answer, they're saying, oh, I also left a voicemail, so you all already called me and you've assisted me. So that number is high for that reason too. So we're all kind of learning this new system, and we love it though. If you go down the list, the rankings from 1 to 15, the next top reason for calls coming in are waitlist status. People are calling in, they want to get into housing, they want assistance, and they want to know where their status is on the wait list. We have program information, people wanting to know about our programs, how can they apply and what they need to do. We have some other things, if we have special letters that are going out, we will capture that information if they're calling in to get more of an explanation on what that letter means. Again, applying for housing, inspection statuses, they want to know information about their recertification, when is it coming, they don't want to miss it. Their final rent change notice, now they have a new rent amount, they want to know why, or they maybe just need a copy of their final rent change notice because they want to get more assistance, maybe food, and food stamps and things like that, and they need that final rent change notice to show that they're on the program, so they need a copy, they misplaced theirs, things like that. So we have different things that have come down the ranks here, and the number of calls we receive for that specific skill. So that way it alerts us, so we can work with other departments and determine how can we reduce those reasons for calls coming in. So it's very helpful now. We didn't have this information before, and it has really made a major change in how we serve our residents. We're really happy about that. We have seen already a shift in our lobby where we are looking at we've cut down half of the traffic each month because now it's going to the phones, because I think our residents are very happy about the service that they're getting on the phones. They can get through easier, they understand it better, but we are always going to be available in our lobby to help those that don't want to call us. It's too much for them. They're not very familiar with it, so they prefer to come in person, and we're always going to be there to serve them too. So real happy about the upgrade. I'm looking forward to additional changes that are coming, and Joanne's going to talk about that. Joanne.
Okay, so what's next? We're certainly not stopping there. We want to continue to serve our residents in the best way we can. And so we're going to be, of course, using AI. We just built our first customer service agentic AI, which is like a chatbot, but it's more advanced. We're using, of course, our Google technology to implement it. We have rolled it out. We've done a soft rollout already within the organization. We loaded it with all of our policy manuals, our training manuals, everything that we could think of that have to do with our programs. We're also hoping this is going to help with the training of our CSRs, because if they're able to go out and use it as a knowledge base, then it's going to be very helpful and be able to answer questions very quickly by entering a prompt. We've already seen quite an uptick of usage of it throughout the organization. We're doing this soft launch first, of course, so our customer service representatives can give us feedback and see how it's going, and it's able to answer the questions. It not only answers the questions, it will take you to the document or policy manual or training manual or presentation of where it came from. So you'll also know the source at every given time. This is loaded just with our data within our domain, if you will. So we're trying to protect it as much as possible. And then the future will mean that we would put this customer service agent out on our public website so that our residents can also ask questions against it, and hopefully also diversify some of that traffic that comes in through our phones and through the lobby. So we're very excited about that. We also plan on implementing more AI agents as well as workflow agents coming in. So we're very excited about the future. And we hope to come back and give you all the good news of what we're doing with AI going forward. And that concludes our presentation.
Anybody have questions?
I have a comment. I just want to say congratulations, and I'm already envisioning like the next meetings where like things are continuing to improve, because these are missed opportunities. Maybe it's a senior that is on dialysis that doesn't want to come to our lobby, that the question can't be answered over the phone, and it's simplified to this. Now my next suggestion would be maybe of the letting our residents know of this new technology, right? Sending it like, hey, you know what? We've made some improvements for you. We're using RingCentral. Get adapted to the new things that are rolling out to better serve you at the end of the day, right? Maybe sending a communication, that way people can expect the changes. And especially thinking in the lens of a senior citizen or an older adult that doesn't have the capability to understand AI or chatbot. I mean, obviously younger people can, right? But making it accessible to them, I think that's extremely important. But I'm really excited to see the disposition board, and that you guys now know like the missed calls of the wait list. It's 1,980 people, and so it's just a simple call. I just want to know where I'm at, answered, done, taken care of.
Exactly, yes.
So congratulations, and I'm looking forward to see what you guys continue to improve for our residents.
Great, great. Thank you for that feedback.
I would like to know what shows up on the caller ID when the callback happens.
I believe it's our 6,000 number. Right, Laura, I'm not sure. What shows up on the caller ID? What shows up on the caller ID?
It will not on our
No,
end, but on
6262.
theirs, we will be able to capture the number, the name, the full name of the participant, so we can return the call.
No, what shows up on, like if I was to call and request a call back, what would show up on my screen?
It's actually gonna pull up your name, your full name and the phone
No,
number.
it'll be our main phone number.
Like the
Your-
476.
Yeah. When we call you, it'll be our
Okay,
main
so
phone
it
number.
shows the Opportunity Homes number, okay.
Correct.
I was just making sure it wasn't like an 800
477
number.
6262.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
the 6,000.
I don't know, girl. Go
Yes,
back
it's
and
a
forth.
6,000.
62, yeah.
Yes, definitely. you
We
will see our
changed it,
number.
sorry. 6,000.
It's- You will definitely see our number, but our name, our company name will come up so you know who's calling.
Yes.
Back, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Not to bring up old stuff, but the number that stands out to me still 2 years later is 20,000 unanswered calls monthly.
Right, right.
Can you tell me, when we're looking at these numbers, you're showing 8,600 or 8,700, I'll round it up, serviced calls. Can you explain the 20,000 a couple years ago to the 8,700 that are being serviced this year? Are those unique numbers? Are we not getting as many calls as we did a couple years ago? Can you explain that number for me?
Laura, I don't know if you want to, but I remember when we were pulling the data, I remember what you're talking about as well. I think it was in May. It was like 1 month. It was a really large number. And there was, I don't know if it was the wait list or something that happened when all those phone calls came in, but you could speak.
It is true, but we also had an issue where all calls came in for procurement, for HR, for all kinds of departments came in through our main line, and we would have to fill those and, get them to the right order. So now we have it where people can call in definitely and choose the route that they want to go, which is program participants going to the route that they need to go, that's necessary. So they weren't all coming into the main line as previous, which was everything. We would answer any calls that came in for any department, any inquiries. So now have it separated, where they can call us directly, just program participants for their specific cases. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yes.
So that was overwhelming for us as well. Yes.
Another question with regard to the surveys. I think on here it said 780 surveys, is that correct?
Yes.
780 responses between January and April 8th. How are participants in that survey selected? And what is the completion rate for that survey?
That's a great question. Our CSRs are required to launch the survey at the end after asking the program participant if they wouldn't mind taking the survey. And if they agree to, then we launch it. And and that's for live calls. So if we're doing a callback or we're doing a return call for a voicemail, well, then that option is not there, but it is for live call. And we also monitor our staff. That's part of the requirement, that they have to request that at the very end, or, they get docked on their performance if they do not offer that option.
And then one last question. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Again, not to bring up old stuff, but a couple years ago, I believe the number of employees who were fielding calls were like 3 or 4, with some potential from lobby employees helping out or not. Has the FTE in that area changed? Is it more amenable to the number of calls we're receiving? And
that's
are
true.
there plans for increasing that?
Actually, thanks to our CEO, we have increased our call center staff to 8, where initially we only had 4, so we did increase that. And our attrition kind of contributed to that too, not being able to maintain staff because of all the craziness that we experience, right? But now things have changed with the new upgrade. Our staff is really happy about the new system. They're knowledgeable. We're able to train them now that we have the more time to do that. So things have shifted in a better light for us. In addition to adding the 4 more staff members, our lobby staff is able to jump in and help out too, which is great. So, that kind of gives us more of a teamwork environment. And if someone's going to be out, we were affected when we only had the 4 that were budgeted. And if we were short-staffed, well, then we only have 2. Somebody was out, it was only 1. It was a lot. So I jump on the phones, my supervisors would. We just grab staff within our area. But the system is so different now that we can utilize just about everybody. And we are at 6 members right now. We're posting for 2 positions at this moment to fully staff our call center, but we have seen some major changes already. Just with the system, set up the way it's set up right now, we're able to manage it a whole lot better.
Perfect, thank you.
Mhm. You're welcome.
I mean, I'm glad we're here. I mean, it still kind of baffles me that we had so many to not answer calls just like blows my mind. Like that to me is like the critical part. That impacts people showing up to Citizens Be Heard, people, being upset and angry. So I'm glad we're here. My question is as we bring on more development and we grow, like 7 people answering a phone and technology, that's great and all, but like how are y'all collaborating to talk about that? Because I just think that like y'all are so key. So as things are happening development-wise and we're bringing on more, properties, that means, okay, hopefully people are shifting off the wait list, but I just think that just builds more calls. So
And
like,
you're right.
What is that like collaborativeness about getting ahead of this?
Right.
And like staying on top of like this technology, we got it, great, but now you got to maintain it. It's forever changing to be better. How is staff, being, trained to be responsive? I mean, I love AI, but AI is also requires training and how to, use it effectively. So just like walk me through that. I just
Yeah,
wanna
and I'll
understand
actually
that
let
that's being
Joanna
thought
speak
of.
on that here shortly, but I can tell you initially when they were going to do the upgrade, I was nervous about it because I just felt like we still need more staff. This is still not going to help. But we are starting to see the change, we're turning the corner now because even with a member pulled off from the phones to help with the live chats and with the text messaging, that has really reduced, calls that are coming in. It really has had an impact. Our lobby, as I had mentioned before, we're seeing a change in the amount of people that are coming in because now they can rely on calling in and getting a response. They're going to get a response. If they called before, we have to track them. And sometimes we didn't even have the manpower to do that. Now we don't need to worry about that. We have our system doing that for us. So that's helped us a lot. We've seen that shift within this last year, actually the last 6 months, because we've been slowly building the system. So I do believe in our new upgrade, our system, our IT, and what they've done for us because we have seen a major shift. It's going to take time. This is new, but we are seeing some definite changes because our lobby used to be full of people wall to wall, and then the phones were impacted so heavily.
Yeah.
We're seeing a shift, and we're seeing such a great change. So I do have confidence in the system that Joanna has chosen for us.
So customer service is part of our overall strategic plan. We never stop talking about how we can improve it and where we can leverage it at any, whenever we can, we're always talking about it. So there's a lot of collaboration that happens among the different departments. Like, for example, with Marissa, I'm very excited about her being here so that we can start, doing more technology for the public housing side. But to answer your question even more is this technology, as Laura has said, has already improved a lot of what we do, right? We just demonstrated that, we showed that to you. We do think that AI is gonna play a huge part in that, but what we need to do is become a little bit more interactive. And so there's workflow AI that we need to explore so that more of business can be done on the phone, right? So as you go to other systems, right, you're able to pay your bill, you're able to find out what your rent is, you're able to do your entire transaction without talking to anyone. I think that's where we need to get. I think we really need to go there and invest in that kind of opportunity for our residents. And we have to be cognizant of the residents that we serve, right, and our participants. So we'll always have kind of a hybrid environment, right? We're not going to go 100% technology like some organizations had, like Social Security and so on. We always want to remember that we still have issues with inclusion, right? People not having the right connectivity. We have elderly and disabled residents, but we're hoping that we'll be able to up our game in communication and training our residents and being able to provide them more information on how to use the technology. That's going to be part of our implementation process. It's something that we have to think about all along. How do we continue to talk to them? How do we continue to inform them? and train them and make it easy for them. So we have a lot on our plate that we're definitely want to dive into on our overall roadmap that I'd be happy to bring back to you. You know, what do we look like in the next 1, 2, 3 years? Because we're really excited about embarking in that. But I do think that that interaction, that ability to be able to conduct business, then having to call, having to come into the lobby, being able to upload documents, being able to go through their recertification process through an AI workflow would be fabulous. And that's kind of what we're talking about now. And I think that's where we need to go in the future.
Thank you.
I would just love to add that when I first came on as a commissioner, I was just really perplexed by the fact that it didn't seem like we had any ability to track or answer calls. I know that we had this, and you've already talked about the attrition, this turnover, and it also didn't seem like anybody's hair was on fire about that. It was just sort of like, well, it's bad, that's the way it is, we get back to them when we can, and so to see this complete a turnaround, I think it's not just that we're, you know, if 100% of the 780 people are satisfied with service, that is such a huge difference from when we would have folks show up and speak and say, I have called and called and called, and no one answers. And no one has answered. When I can get through to someone, they can't answer my question. And we literally had folks, you know, coming to meetings, and I couldn't understand how you could run a company like that. And so just seeing this is wonderful. And just, you know, congratulations. And I know it must be hard when you had staff that were really didn't know how to deal because there was no system in place. In fact, I think this data is so useful that I would love to see your slide 9 as a monthly indicator for us. What are people calling about? And that would be very helpful, I think, for us as commissioners to be able to get a sense of when people do reach out to us, what is it that their issues are, so that we can use that as kind of a not quite real time, but pretty much real time indicator of people's issues. And then I would also just really love to see that uptake on the relatively new features, the chat and the agentic AI features. But you know, thank you for this is a great this is a huge improvement, and I think it really does show an attitude. You know, this team cares about the work that you're doing and the people that you're serving, and I think that's really important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Absolutely.
if I can add some final remarks. I'm incredibly proud of this team. It's hard to change course after a decade of doing business as usual. And when we talked a year ago, we said the status quo is not working, and they met the challenge. The IT team and Laura met the challenge. Are we 100% there? We're not. There's a lot of next steps. Next step would be to get a really robust resident portal, so residents have access to their financials, access to their information, access to whether they're, you know, where they are on the wait list. So they don't have to call in, they don't have to text message. And so we need to bring that power of information to our residents' hands. That's the next step in this process. So we're halfway there. But the first half has been incredible. We elevated customer service. It always was like a second, third, fourth tier in the organization. Now Laura has a seat at the table. It's a department, the Housing Information Hub has a seat at the table. That way they can make decisions and they know what's occurring in the organization, and there are high expectations. And speaking of Laura, I think, Laura, this might have been your first board presentation in your 20-year career. Well done. That was really. This organization has lots of tough jobs, and the tough jobs are on the front lines, are maintenance techs having to go into units and not maybe being well received. But having the job that Laura's had in terms of getting the not so friendly comments, whether in person, on calls, and having to have the thick skin, at the same time having the heart to respond, she's an incredible gem to the organization, as is Joanna. So we're really grateful that they're on this team, and so all this to say, more to come.
If I can just say thank you to Michael, who listened. He listened to what we needed finally, and where we're at now because of him. So thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you again. I will go ahead and move on to the update and discussion regarding the quarterly operations report. Jose Mascota, Chief Operating Officer.
Before we talk about the operations report, I want to add the other tough job Laura has, not dealing with the phone and upset participants on the phone. It's in the lobby. So we get residents and participants who come into the lobby, most of whom are great, but every now and then we get residents and participants who create havoc in those lobbies, and she's right in that lobby with them. So just wanted to point that out. Again, Jose Moscoto, Chief Operating Officer. Before we start kicking into the slides, this report for the past maybe year, almost a full year, had been provided to you all as a supplemental report in your board packet. And as you well know, you get a lot of pages in those board packets. So we felt it was important to highlight a lot of the work that is happening and the data that is in these reports so that you can see and know what is going on an operational side. And before I start the slides, there's one note I wanted to talk a little bit about that's not in the slides, and that is the work that we have done over the past year in creating efficiencies in our personnel side. They're starting, well, if reflecting back on Aaron's report on the financial statements, he talked broad strokes, big numbers, but if you look at the details in the public housing numbers as well as in the housing voucher services numbers, you'll see a line item in there that says salaries and benefits. Those two line items, one for public housing, the actual numbers were 10.9 million versus a budget of 12.5 million. And housing voucher has a 5.2 budget, and I'm sorry, 5.2 actuals compared to a 5.8 budget. So there have been cost savings in the creation of our efficiencies throughout the past year compared to budget and how we've restructured and reorganized. And two of those components are dealing with, we had an operations support team that was a subset within the organization that did a lot of work supporting both the Housing Voucher Services Department as well as the Public Housing Department. Over the past 9 months, we separated that team and reassigned folks to their respective departments and programs. So we had 9 of those staff shift to Housing Voucher Services to provide the support to that program. And that's including handling the wait list for Housing Voucher Services. We had a centralized waiting list where this team did it all, but now we've gone program specific to create some efficiencies and focus on those programs alone. And then 9 staff went to the public housing team to do the same thing, policy analysts and wait list staff. From that operations team and that realignment, 8 of those positions, which were vacant, were closed out. And that's where you'll see some of the savings in our line items for staffing and benefits. We're still, those shifts happened at the end of December and January, and those teams are still transitioning into their programs under the leadership of the directors, Stephanie for Housing Voucher Services, Ruth at the time, and now Marissa with Public Housing. So they are creating their processes to create efficiencies for each one of those programs as we speak, and still moving on that right now. So that was a savings, and then the second piece of savings in salaries and benefits specific to the public housing, we have been working on a realignment of our field teams. We've had, at one time, we had about 15 groups of properties with their own respective senior community manager leadership or community manager leadership, maintenance supervisors, and the like. What we have done is realigned, and we've finished phase 2 of 4 phases. And what we've done, we've condensed 6 operating groups down to 4. So instead of additional mid-management staff, we have reduced those positions to add assistant community managers or maintenance techs to have more boots on the ground serving our residents. Phase 2, we shifted 9 groups down to 4 groups. And then phase 3 and phase 4 are coming. That was another huge savings. So I just wanted to explain that, when you look at the financials, there's been a lot of work going on, and I can't thank our team for both programs enough for being receptive to change, but also taking the lead and taking on the challenges of creating different processes and how we operate. So I just wanted to add that. So that's not in the slides, but that's been a fair share of work over time, and still continues to go on. So in our operations report, first thing I want to talk about is our public housing occupancy. And on the graph, you'll see where over the past 21 months we have sustained 96% occupancy. Although our goal is 97, which is optimal, we have sustained the 96, but I want to make sure that we have a backdrop to that. In March of 2023, we were at 90% occupancy. The other backdrop to ensure you all understand where we stand, if you look at the PIH website, Public and Indian Housing website, nationally, the public housing units are 93.77% occupied. So compared to national numbers, we're still exceeding. And if you compare us just in Texas, they're at 94. So again, we are doing better than most public housing agencies in that regard. The next piece under move-ins and move-outs, and we're going to talk a little bit about repay agreements. But first of all, in the move-ins and move-outs, we had 100, for this past quarter, January through March, we had 131 move-ins in public housing with 158 move-outs. I want to highlight some of the reasons for those move-outs, but mostly let's talk about the biggest concern we always have, which are evictions. And we've had 14 or 9% of those 158 move-outs. But if you compare that 14 to the total 6,000 public housing units we have, that is less than 1%. It's 0.23% of the whole public housing portfolio that have engaged or had issues with evictions. So I just wanted to point that issue out. But we've had 144 voluntary terminations and move-outs for various reasons, and the breakout is below, so we've had folks abandoned and skip. And unfortunate, we've had some pass away, moved out without notice, which is essentially abandoned and skip. And then we've had another 11% who've chose to move in with family, and then 12 provided the 30-day notice, but they didn't tell us why they're leaving. And then about 6% decided to rent elsewhere. So those are some highlights on the move-ins and move-outs for public housing. So let's talk about the repay agreements. I want to make sure on the slide you see on the right-hand side 632 total public housing repay agreements. That number is incorrect. As of March 31st, it was 555. That 632 was the December number, December 31st. But I wanted to highlight how many repay agreements were in existence in the public housing portfolio as of March 31st. Now, there was a push by this board back in 2024 in working with and helping families who were dealing with pandemic-era issues And at that time, that's when repay agreements were offered to, and it increased to 777 at that time frame. And we separated out pandemic versus general repayment agreements. We have since just combined them all into repay agreements. We still track the pandemic era. We're down to about 195 that are pandemic era repay agreements of those 555. So I just want to make sure that that's information is provided. As of June 30th, 2025, 9 months ago, we had a total of 773 repay agreements in place, which was equivalent to about $1 million. Now we're sitting at what you see there, about $640,000. Okay? So I just want to point out, we're still working with families, and also highlight that, you know, we have adjusted and amended policy, you know, to work with emergency situations only for repay agreements and other issues. Okay. Work orders. Just a few highlights here. This past quarter, we had 15,123 work orders compared to last quarter, which we had 17,734. There's a lot of information here, and wanted to highlight the 4 bullets below that, you know, we focus on oldest work order to the newest. You know, we have 5 days to complete a regular non-emergency work order, 24 hours to complete all emergency work orders, 20 days to complete inspection work orders. When we have an agency come in and do a physical inspection and they find something, we have 20 days to complete those work orders. So on average, and I think at the last board meeting, there was a question, how quickly do we complete work orders? We have detailed data on that, but for today, the average work order completion time is five days. So when you incorporate all of those types of work orders together, the aggregate is 5 days. Okay. And then you can see on you got quarterly comparative data going up and down. Shifting gears from public housing to our housing voucher services program. Wanted to highlight what I'm going to call a great thing that the agency has done. If you look at the graph, you'll see the green line, which is equivalent to 11,100. That is our target from a budgetary standpoint of the number of vouchers being utilized. You'll take note that we dipped below that line for a very good reason. Back in 2023, I believe, when the emergency housing voucher program was implemented, they told folks that you can use these until the money runs out, I believe, or until they move out. Then in 2025, they shifted that they were going to sunset those vouchers, effective somewhere around June of 2026. So the concern was what happens to those households. And these were some of our most vulnerable in the community. These were referrals from Close to Home, which is our COC, for homeless and unhoused. So instead of those vouchers just going away and those individuals losing their subsidy and their housing altogether, we opted to absorb those 205 remaining households into our regular housing choice voucher program. So we purposely held off on increasing so that we could get that absorption with no problem. And so that was completed somewhere, I believe, in this past quarter, where we got all 205 absorbed. So now we're ramping back up for regular folks off the waiting list. So I just want to point that out. And also point out that lots of agencies didn't have that ability. The EHV voucher holders lost their subsidy. Just wanted to point out here, these are a list of the various special purpose vouchers that we work with. Primarily one with Close to Home, 250 vouchers, our Move On vouchers, family homeless, stability vouchers, and these are separate and apart from our housing choice voucher program. Where are our VASH? I can't see them. Next page. Go ahead. This is our housing voucher services guru.
Sorry, I'm really short. I'm going to move this down. So I'm Stephanie Rodriguez. I'm the Senior Director for our voucher program. And so this is what we call our special purpose vouchers. HUD also has special purpose vouchers, which is slightly different than what we call our special purpose. So for our housing choice vouchers, we do MTW activities that allow us to allocate portions of our housing choice voucher to services like the families that are experiencing homelessness in partner communities. So these are our special purpose that we've set aside for our partners rather than HUD's special purpose vouchers. So these are usually ones that we're working with our partners in order to allocate to those.
Okay, so we just want to include that slide so you see the total number of special housing vouchers in, and then we have the second page, yes, since it's Next Step Housing, our foster youth to independence, which I'm sure Michael will update everybody on later in the meeting, and a variety of other vouchers, as well as PBV, project-based vouchers at various partnership deals. Okay. Same thing, just different graphs. So let's talk about our voucher program housing inspections with landlords, making sure our vouchers get utilized and participants get housed. This past quarter, we had about 511 inspections. So our inspection team went out for new housing, for new participants, as well as renewals and recertifications of our existing families on vouchers. And we did see a 93% pass rate on the inspection, so gives you an idea. It's improving since the last quarter. The next piece I wanted to highlight when we're talking about inspections on the public housing side, so you may or may not know, we have public housing units in various other types of properties, and I wanted to highlight something that's not a good thing. We did have one score with our Refugio property, which is managed by Willow Bridge. It's part of our affordable housing communities portfolio, but we have a third-party management agent managing it. They just did not prepare, and they scored a 7. So incredibly low, and just wanted to highlight that we are dealing with that management agent, as is HUD, so just to be aware. Next, let's talk a little bit about wait lists. Just highlighting, back in October 2024, we were sitting at about 115,000 on the wait list. Today, again, looking at the very bottom notes, if you look at each program, you've got 46,000 in public housing, housing choice voucher, 17,000, project-based voucher, and moderate rehab. Those obviously add up to 79,678. But when we call and winnow out the unique applicants, meaning some of those applicants in our 2 different types of waiting lists, we have about 65 participants on waiting lists throughout all of those programs. The other thing I wanted to highlight that's not in here is if you also recall in the October and November of 2024, we completed a review and maintenance of the waiting lists, which reduced it from that 115 or 118 down to the 65, which is roughly where we are today. Keep in mind that we had left the public housing wait list open for about 7 months. After that, we ultimately closed that waiting list for the family public housing wait list in May of 2025, but we've continued to keep the elderly public housing wait list open. So those numbers will still fluctuate up as we receive more participants after that one maintenance. But we are also due for maintenance as well. Notices will be going out to participants on the wait list June 1st. They'll have 30 days to respond and get back to us to see if they're still needing to be on the wait list. So in July, we'll review all of the responses and see where we end up. So I would suspect in August, we'll have some updated wait list numbers for you there. more accurate. On this next slide, just kind of gives you applicants by family size. Nothing extremely earth-shattering here, other than we've got a lot of one-member households. So on the public housing side, and housing choice voucher, 37% are one-member households. Breaking down the wait lists differently, I think Commissioner Powell a while back requested how long are they on the wait list by age. So we broke this out by elderly and non-elderly. And so if you take a look at the chart on the left, we've got a total of 6,500 there on the waiting list for less than a year. 1 to 5 years is the bulk of our folks on the waiting list of 50,362, making up that total of 65,192 with the other two. And one category that has really resonated with me that we really need to dig into is that 10-year, and I don't quite understand, so we're digging into the details, who those participants are and and why they've been there so long. Again, a different type of breakdown by, based on our public housing wait list, how many units are available versus the folks on the wait list. You can see the 0 to 1 bedrooms, we only have 2,592 units, but there's 24,400 on the waiting list for those types of units. So you can see where there's a wait for a lot of these public housing units. Next up, briefly, our community development initiatives. Just talk on the right-hand side. Our Q3 program participation, we had family self-sufficiency program. We had 1,047 ongoing participants. Our resident opportunities and self-sufficiency, 388 participants. And our Job Plus program, 125. So that continues to move forward. Our community development initiatives team, by the way, this is a plug for our Mother's Day event. It's coming Friday. Anyone interested, feel free. They're coordinating all that, and probably why they're not here today, so they're still working on it. And our last slide, briefly talking, you all asked Aaron about the economic occupancy for affordable housing communities and so forth. We're averaging about 80% in physical occupancy in this last quarter. Financials incorporated more time than that. We've had 181 move-ins and 223 move-outs, so we're backwards right now. So we're working on some marketing strategies, focusing in on the very unique properties that are struggling the most to really improve that. And yes, the city of San Antonio indicates that it's a tough housing market for this type of product, but I still feel we can achieve 90% if we focus. There are a lot of properties that are doing so, and they're in the same type of program, so we should be able to do the same. And that's all I had for y'all today. And I believe the full report is in your packet as well.
Yes.
Has a little more information in there. I didn't include the customer service calls in this presentation, but they are in that operations report as well.
So I have a question. Can you go back to the slide that shows the evictions? It's towards the beginning. That one.
Okay.
So, and you may not know the answer to this, but it's a question of the voluntary surrenders. Do you know how many of those units either received a notice to vacate or received the packet that you get if you're 12 days late that says notice of termination of lease?
I don't have that specific number with me today, but we can get that information.
Okay. Because in my personal experience, a lot of these voluntary surrenders
Are because of
that notice. And several years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, we negotiated to have that initial notice changed to just be like the first month, you're late on your rent. I don't know why that was changed, but I was late on my rent last month and got my notice of termination handed to me on the 12th day. So that's scary to a lot of people that don't know what to do with that.
Right, and so we do offer on, the notices, come talk to the management office, come talk, and I get it. Some folks do get scared and are afraid because of whatever the circumstances is. But we do encourage our managers to reach out to those households, find out what's going on, offer them opportunities to participate in our emergency rental assistance if it's because they haven't paid the rents, or the cities. So we do have both programs accessible. And then, as you well know, we do have processes in place that they can appeal that notice. They can appeal,
Right.
in which will come to us at the main office for a hearing.
Yeah, no, it was a whole packet of all that information.
Yeah.
But that first page says notice of termination of lease and pending eviction in big, bold black letters. So once you see that first thing at the top of the page, the rest of it is irrelevant.
Right.
So, again, why was that language changed on that first initial notice? And I got mine on the 12th day after the rent was due. And, I was late because of a car accident. So, but it's caught up, I'm good. And I know what to do in that situation, but other people don't.
Right.
So why was that changed back to something so scary? And two, how many of these? Those are the two questions I have.
I can get the details of how many of those actually received the notices compared to just voluntarily, just skipping and leaving the units. And I'll research why the language was changed.
Okay, thank you.
Find that out.
Appreciate it.
I had a comment to say. I really appreciate this breakdown because it talks about people that are not aware that are not in the housing, the misconception of we're just evicting. We're not. We're
Right.
evicting because there's deaths, because that occurs. People's
Right.
health changes, people move back with their families. And so I think this is extremely important and vital for our organization to have moving forward, to break that community. Oh, we're just evicting because they don't want to give us an opportunity to work with residents. And so I really appreciate that. On another note, though, I definitely understand the voluntary, because it's also a business, right? And
Correct.
so in order to maintain business, the 30-day eviction, yes, it is scary, but at the same time, we have an urgency of a wait list because there is other people that are gonna need an apartment or a unit that are gonna be doing what they are supposed to do. But I definitely understand the scary part with someone doesn't know that they can go talk. All it takes is just for you to talk to your property manager or like, hey, you know what, this is situation happened, and make them aware. So I really appreciate this breakdown, and I wish this continues to showcase those numbers and that we're not evicting just to evict.
We will, and I think the future reports will make it more readily, easily to read and pick out what you're looking for. Yes, Marissa?
Marissa Smithwick. So we have to follow federal requirements, but we also have to follow state and local. And so we have to issue out your advance notice of lease termination, and then if you did not pay, then we would issue a notice to vacate. So that's a requirement legally. So I can't speak of the past and why the notices didn't say what they needed to or what the process was in the past, but it's the notice of lease termination and then the notice to vacate if the participant doesn't cure and pay the rent by the deadline date.
I do also have a couple of questions. The commissioners in the past have just expressed interest when we have a partner that doesn't perform on contracts, just to make sure that we know in the future if projects come forward or if that partner is involved in other transactions. And so you mentioned Willow Ridge and a 7 on an Inspire inspection
Right.
score. So just to make sure that commissioners are aware that that entity was associated with that poor outcome, that's helpful for us in our
Right.
future decision-making. But I would assume we'd also have internal processes that would weed out that kind of applicant from other proposals.
Correct. That's correct. So we're evaluating that as we speak from a management agent perspective.
And just nice to see. I know there was a lot of concern about Inspire and that it was different and it was rolled out. Now, oh, it's going to take effect. No, it's not. Now it is. So I'm glad that we have some passing properties, the ones that we manage. So that's a good thing. I was looking at the PVV utilization, and I was curious both about Snowden, about the low rate of PVV utilization at Snowden, and also about, which I know is just one project, obviously, but also about the college and university allocation and the utilization there. And just wondering if there are things that we can do. Project-based vouchers are so critical for financing of new properties, because you obviously can't underwrite to a below 30% income-based rent from any outside funding source, and project-based vouchers do allow you to, underwrite to below 30 AMI. So just making sure that all of our PVVs are utilized to the greatest extent possible. And so just wondering if there's any background on that.
So for Snowden, the way that we do our allocations and our calculations of least, we're first of the month for our organization for the past month. So when you look at it and it says 23, we had 23 that converted in February, and then the other like 24, 22 that converted in March. Even though March is the quarter, we can't count it until April. So in that next quarter, you're going to see that it is a higher utilization under that one, and it's just that 1 month difference. And then the other ones that did not convert are ones that we cannot yet. They're currently utilized by households that do not qualify. We will not make them move out. We will wait for them to move out on their own and then convert that unit to the BVV under the contract. Now, if they do have another unit that does vacate, and it is situated in an area that is still sporadic for the property, we could look at flipping a unit to be that one instead, so that we still can utilize those PVVs under that contract. But we do try to meet with them. We're trying to meet with them monthly to kind of go over that, to make sure that we're not putting, we don't want to crowd PVV in a corner on a floor, or one side of the building. Now for the college, on that one, we do see the utilization. We're working with UTSA and TAMU, I think is what, Texas A&M University. And so as a part of that, we are looking at allocating some of the vouchers of the 100 to them as a part of the process. For ACCD, they previously had the 50, and they utilized those really well. So we were like, we're going to give you another 50 because we know that you have the need. But there's been an issue with getting those referrals. We have been meeting with them monthly, and they've now changed to where, because we were only meeting with one person that was trying to coordinate for all the campuses, and they were thinking that was causing that referral delay. So now we're meeting with individuals from each of the colleges in order to get those referrals in a better process and go through a training. You will see that it did go up a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. It did go up, and so we are still continuing to work with them. It is closer towards the end of the year, though, where they're graduating, and so it's harder for them to identify. So we're going to see probably more of an uptick on the colleges when it gets closer to that beginning of summer and then the fall season. But those are also they're not project-based. Those are tenant kind of based, so they're housing choice vouchers.
I'm glad to hear about the continued close coordination with the college district, and that was another issue that when I joined the Board of Commissioners, although we're a moving to work agency, we didn't have close relationships with our college district, with our workforce development agencies, with our school districts, and I'm hearing more about those types of partnerships and close meetings, and that's really rewarding to hear. I do also want to, I'm no longer associated with the continuum of care, but was on the board at Close to Home for a number of years, and there was just, Close to Home really prized the responsiveness and partnership with Opportunity Home, so thank you for that and for the commitment here of the vouchers to allow these programs to be effective.
One thing I will add, if you look at those numbers, like for Close to Home, Haven for Hope, they may not meet that full 100% utilization, but they might be searching.
Yeah.
So they might be currently, like we've just issued out their vouchers. They do send us referrals. Haven for Hope is like, when you get that voucher available, they'll send a referral really fast. So same thing with Close to Home. And so even though they might not be at that full 100%, we do have almost all those vouchers out on the street, if not a little bit extra, because we know they might be like, you know what, we're deciding we're moving them to PSH rather than your voucher. And so we do kind of over-issue just a little bit over for those programs in order to make sure we're going to get to that 100%.
That's great, thank you.
I do have a comment and a question with regard to providing us information on not just unit counts, but also on resident outcomes. And I appreciate that. I appreciate seeing the numbers that are active and participating in FSS and ROS and the ROS
Okay.
programs. My question is this. I see these numbers, and I think they've been reported in the past as well. I just am not very clear as to what the goals are for participation in each of these programs. So if we could have some information that would let us know how we're faring with regard to what our goals for resident outcomes are.
Absolutely, yeah, we can include that information
Thank
in the next one, so.
Do we have any other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you, Jose.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we will move on to the President and CEO report.
Great, Commissioners, thank you. I wanted to just give you a few highlights. One, last month, we held a great productive meeting with the SEISD Superintendent. We talked about renewing and strengthening our partnership, and that was a really successful meeting. Also, last Wednesday, I attended a roundtable with HUD Secretary Scott Turner, who was here in town to celebrate the FYI vouchers, which is the Foster Youth to Independence vouchers. And we had recipients in the room from San Antonio, Austin, El Paso, and Dallas. We had our local partners in the room from close to home and our chief housing officer in the roundtable. It was a very successful roundtable. Secretary Turner is making the rounds around the country to highlight this initiative. He noted it's important for the First Lady that we as practitioners support HUD's FYI program, and so we highlighted San Antonio's success, and so it was a good roundtable. I also like to thank the chair and vice chair for joining us on April 14th as we broke ground on Central Ed Commerce. It was a huge milestone for the organization. Developed in partnership with the Annex Group and also the City of San Antonio's housing bond, the $86 million development would bring 279 affordable homes to downtown for households earning 30 to 70% AMI. It's located right at the doorstep of the Via Rapid Silver Line and also adjacent to the future Sports and Entertainment District. Obviously, it was really important for us because of the location and also the partnerships. We're able to foster a partnership with Haven for Hope. That way, some of these units are dedicated for those families. And also, this was the first time we utilized our credit rating to assist with construction financing. So there were many firsts about this project, and it was so special that we had the Spurs Coyote out there join us and Buster from Via, which I thought personally were highlights that they were able to be there with us. So I thank you all for joining. And I wanted to specifically thank the DSNR, our development services teams, for getting this through the finish line, especially Tim and Lorraine. There was a lot of work that went into this, and so it was a great achievement for the organization. Also want to talk about the Wheatley Senior Park Senior Living waitlist is now open. It opened on April 3rd. This is located on the east side, and it offers 1- and 2-bedroom apartments for adults age 62 and older who meet HUD income requirements. Anyone listening or obtaining this information can go to our website to apply, and it's at homesa.org/apply to join that wait list. I also wanted to update the board on a recent investment in our workforce. Effective this pay period, all full-time and regular status employees received a 3% cost of living adjustment to keep pace with rising costs. The U.S. Consumer Price Index rose in the last 12 months, and so we wanted to ensure we remain competitive as an employer. And as we know, there's a big employer up the road there on South Flores that we're always trying to compete with, and so we want to make sure that they don't go that way. We keep them in-house. And so I also want to know that the adjustment is fully accounted for within our current approved salary budget. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the several employees who you met earlier, who were nominated by their peers for outstanding service and leadership. You met them, and we took a photo earlier, and that was Michelle Davila, Aslan Cruz Herrera, Michelle McDermott, Martha Badillo de Rodriguez, and Marquise Graves. These recognitions reflect the strength of our workforce and the culture of service and accountability that sustains our mission, and I'm really grateful for their contributions and proud of the standard they set for the organization. In addition to expanding housing opportunities, we continue to see strong partnerships that support families. Children and families at the Alazan Courts experienced a special treat on April 3rd when Cornerstone Church donated 115 bicycles to youth in the community. I was lucky to be there and see all the smiley faces of the kids getting their bikes. It was like Christmas morning. The event brought families together for an afternoon of support, including free haircuts, groceries, and prizes. So I wanted to thank the Cornerstone Church for all their support. I know they haven't done this, they've done this in the past and they continue doing it, so I just wanted to convey our appreciation. Also, we participated in the Mi Casa, Su Casa Resource Fair held on April 18th at Lanier High School. The event connected families with valuable resources. Staff shared information about housing assistance and other programs that support residents. Also, a few of you know, because you were there, and I appreciate you being there at our Fiesta events that we hosted during Battle of Flowers and the Flambeau parades. We brought together 500 guests, including sponsors, community partners, civic leaders. We were glad to have Mayor Jones to join us at the evening event and several city council members between the morning and the evening event. In total, we raised $150,000 to support youth programs, workforce training, and other services that help strengthen our residents. And all these funds help support our new Opportunity Home Community Fund. So I just wanted to thank the CDI team and also our Director of Philanthropy for all the work they did to put these events together, and CDI in specifically for their parking fundraiser at Central Office during the King William Fair. We sold those parking spots at Central Office, and we raised a good chunk of money for our community fund as well. So I just wanted to thank CDI and Aaron, our Director of Philanthropy, for all their work. And then finally, just a few highlights of upcoming events. Jose mentioned the Mother's Day celebration in 2 days, this Friday. If you haven't gone before, I highly encourage it. It's a really fun event for us to pamper our moms, our resident moms, and it's a great event. Also next week, we have our family self-sufficiency graduation. That's also a great event if you haven't attended to see the outcomes of all the work that our residents put into kind of moving along in their housing journey. And then finally, at the end of the month, we have our Memorial Day holiday closure on that Monday. Residents can still respond or submit emergency work orders, and so the work continues, but for the central office, it'll be closed. And so, commissioners, that's my report.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any questions or discussion regarding the president's report? No? Okay, thank you again, Michael. Now that we have gone through the regular board meeting agenda items, minus the closed session, I am going to recess for the nonprofit corporation meetings. We will now recess for the regular board meeting, from the regular board meeting, and enter into the Las Varas Public Facility Corporation and San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meetings. The time is 3:12 p.m.
Hello and welcome to Las Varas Public Facility Corporation meeting. All commissioners remain in attendance. All directors remain in attendance. You may call the meeting to order.
I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is 3:13 p.m. and I will move on to ask if there are any citizens to be heard.
There are no citizens signed up to speak.
Okay, thank you so much. With no citizens signed up to speak, we have some meeting minutes that we need to approve. So it is approval of the April 1st, 2026 Las Varas Public Facility Corporation meeting minutes. Do we have any discussion regarding this item? Not hearing any, I'm going to request a motion to approve the April 1st Las Varas Public Facility Corporation meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a first and second. If there is no additional discussion, I will ask for all those in favor to say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes and the minutes are adopted. I will now move on to consent items. Now, as a reminder, these consent items have already been discussed in the regular board meeting. So I will ask that we obtain a motion to approve consent item number 4, consideration and approval regarding resolution 26 LVPFC-05-01, authorizing approval as general partner and bond issuer on the Brickstone Flats transaction. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a first and second. If there is no additional discussion, I will ask all those in favor to say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes and is adopted. That being the only item on the Las Vadas side, I will adjourn if there are no objections. I don't see any. Hearing no objection, the meeting stands adjourned at 3:15 p.m. Okay, and now I will proceed to the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting at, do you need the time? Okay.
All directors remain in attendance. Please welcome yourselves to the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting. You may call the meeting to order.
I will call the meeting to order at 3:15 p.m. Do we have any citizens to be heard?
There are no citizens signed up to speak.
Okay. There being no citizens signed up to speak, I will ask for approval of the April 1st, 2026 San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting minutes. Is there any discussion regarding this item? Not seeing that there are any, I will request a motion to approve the April 1st, 2026 San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve April 1st meeting minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. There being no additional discussion, I will ask all those in favor to say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes and the meeting minutes are adopted. We have two consent items. I will now ask for a motion to approve consent items numbers 4 and 5. Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve the consent items.
Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion is moved and seconded. There being no additional discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes and the resolution is adopted. I will now move to adjourn if there are no objections. I don't see any. Hearing no objection, the meeting stands adjourned at 3:17 p.m. Okay, now we will return to the regular board meeting. The board has returned at 3:17 p.m. And
Ready?
are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. The board will be meeting in closed session to consult with its attorney regarding a real estate item under sections 551.072 and 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, specifically to discuss and receive advice regarding the Snowden litigation matter. The time is 3:17.
Hello and welcome back to Opportunity Homes San Antonio's regular board meeting. The time is 3:49 p.m. Please note that all commissioners remain in attendance.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, considering the matter that was discussed in closed session, a motion is required to approve the settlement with Alamo Architects as discussed in closed session. If we can have somebody just say so moved, that will accomplish that.
Thank you. I request a motion to approve the settlement with Alamo Architects as discussed in closed session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. There being no additional discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay. Oh, no, not, sorry.
For the record, it was
Disregard
a
that.
unanimous aye vote. The motion passes and the item is adopted. Okay. At this time, if there are no objections, I will now adjourn the meeting. Hearing no objections, the meeting stands adjourned at 3:50 p.m. Thank you, everybody.